covenant is recorded in Deuteronomy. There's a long chapter, Deuteronomy 29, Deuteronomy 30, and it was made between God and Israel right before Moses died, right before Israel entered the promised land. This covenant came after the Mosaic covenant. You know about the Abrahamic covenant, you know about the Mosaic covenant. And after Israel had wandered in the wilderness for 40 years until the generation that had refused to enter the promised land had passed away, then God gave this covenant, the Palestinian covenant. You know, they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. So if I count, there were 205 funerals a day. 205 funerals a day. Can you imagine if you are like Joshua or Caleb, they have to conduct the funerals, 205 funerals a day. God made this covenant with Israel while they were in Moab, waiting to go into the promised land. And the covenant would serve this new generation of Israelites as a reminder. So they give the Palestinian covenant. If you do this, God will do this. But if you don't do this, God will curse you. As a reminder of their special covenant relationship with God. The Palestinian covenant has many similarities to the Mosaic covenant made at Mount Sinai, but is a separate and distinct covenant as clearly seen in Deuteronomy. These are words of the covenant which the Lord commanded Moses to make with the children of Israel in the land of Moab. Before making his covenant with Israel, God reminded them that if they obeyed the Mosaic law, he will bless the nation abundantly, and warned them that disobedience to the law will result in his cursing the nation. From a God-fearing nation laid on a Judeo-Christian foundation by our forefathers, we are no longer a Christian nation. Religious conservatives argue the founding fathers intended the United States to be a Judeo-Christian nation. However, at least one American doesn't think so. In his press conference on April 6 in Turkey, our president explained, one of the great strengths of the United States is we have a very large Christian population. We do not consider ourselves a Christian nation or a Jewish nation or a Muslim nation. We consider ourselves a nation of citizens who are bound by ideals and a set of values. When we are butchering 1 million babies a year in the name of Planned Parenthood, surely we are bringing judgment on this nation according to the Palestinian covenant, right? If you do this, then God will do this. If you don't do this, God will curse. If you do like the abortion and all kinds of evil thing, there will be consequence. Do you know that there has been at least 50 babies aborted since I started this sermon? From the time I started this sermon until now, there has been 50 babies aborted, killed. That is very serious. If you look at the Palestinian covenant, America has to bear the responsibility. Because if you do the evil things, the abortion, the homosexuality, and all the violence, it will bring curse to the land. Judgment will surely come to this nation. I say that God owes apology to Sodom and Gomorrah if he doesn't judge America. When 50 babies aborted in the last 30 minutes, it will surely bring curse to the land. However, he also said in 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sins. I will heal their land. So when Joseph brought his father Jacob and his brothers to Egypt, Pharaoh assigned a piece of land in Goshen for them to live. They didn't live like the Egyptian. They were set apart. They were set apart. They were sanctified. They were set apart. As you know, Egyptian didn't like shepherds. It's an abomination. Like the Hebrew. Apparently, the Hebrew became strong and prosperous. And after Joseph died, the new Pharaoh considered the Hebrew as a threat to their national security. Exodus 1:6 said, "Now Joseph and all his brothers and all that generation died. But the Israelites were fruitful and multiplied greatly and became exceedingly numerous, so that the land was filled with them." Verse 8, "Then the new king, who did not know about Joseph, came to power in Egypt." The new king, who didn't know about Joseph, came to power in Egypt. Joseph brought prosperity to Egypt. As we know, that he had the most valuable commodity in the world at that time. All the Pharaoh knew him. All the Pharaoh after that Pharaoh knew him from the history. But this new Pharaoh, what was said in Exodus 1:8, didn't know about Joseph, quote unquote, didn't know about Joseph. Previous pharaohs know about Joseph, the one who brought prosperity to Egypt. Remember that Joseph, with the wisdom from God, controlled the most precious commodity. During famine, people looking for Pharaoh to bail them out. They live in poverty and even selling their freedom to become slaves of the Pharaoh. Proverbs 22:7 said, "The borrower is servant to lender." When they don't have money anymore, they sold themselves as slaves. And these days, we live in an economy turmoil. Proverbs 22:7 teaches us the borrower is a servant to the lender. In our current economic crisis, many people are finding out just how true Proverbs 22:7 is. So the people who borrow is a servant to the lender. However, the Israelites set apart in Goshen didn't become slave. So they were set apart. They didn't become slave of Pharaoh. They enjoyed freedom. They enjoyed prosperity because they were sanctified, set apart. We Christians are not righteous. We are declared righteous. We are not holy, but we are sanctified by the precious blood of the Lamb. So when we live in Goshen, we don't have to live like in Egypt, the rest of the Egypt, that the government has to build us out. And the government, then we have to sell ourselves, become slaves.